Two more steps. Thank you so much.
Well, I guess when Senator Schumer gets here, we'll introduce him. Okay. Greetings, everyone, and good afternoon. It's great to see you all here. Before I begin, let me first say what a distinct pleasure it is to be with you all and to say thank you to Chairwoman Rosenworcel and Commissioner Starks. I'd also like to acknowledge that I'm joined by Senator Walsh. It's my understanding that we may be joined by Senate Majority Leader Schumer, as well as my dear colleague on the Energy and Commerce Committee, Mark Vesey. Our colleagues in Congress and partners in the private and nonprofit sectors, many of whom are here today, and all others committed to delivering digital equity to every American community are standing with us, and today is a great day. The bipartisan infrastructure law made clear that equal access to broadband is a must for everyone, everywhere. I was proud to have my work on ending digital redlining included in the landmark legislation. It created the largest broadband affordability effort in history and in the Affordable Connectivity Program. And it has delivered a historic investment of $65 billion to help ensure that every American has access to reliable, high-speed internet. Even as the digital industry exploded, America lived with a digital divide. The inability to access broadband puts many essential services out of reach. In the pandemic, we witnessed everything from the inability to access telehealth services to millions of children across this nation struggling to log in to their classrooms. On the 2-year anniversary of the bipartisan infrastructure law, the FCC is making good on this mandate to make sure no one, regardless of who they are, where they live, are shut out of the benefits of the digital age with its new anti-digital discrimination rules. Under Chairwoman Rosenworcel, her agency is fighting tirelessly to make sure no one is shut out of the benefits of the digital age with its new anti-digital discrimination rules. Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you to the Biden-Harris administration for working so diligently to close the digital divide. It's my honor now to, at this stage, bring to the podium a woman who really needs no introduction, whose leadership has really transcended to a level that brings us into the 21st century. We know that in this day and age, not only is our civil society governed by our physical presence, it is also governed by our virtual presence. And that's why the work that has been done here is extraordinary and groundbreaking. So, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, it's my honor to bring to the podium Chairwoman Rosenworcel.
Thank you, Congresswoman Clark. What a dynamo. And so much style, too. All right, it was 2 years ago today that Congress passed the bipartisan infrastructure law. And that piece of legislation was absolutely historic because it made a commitment like nothing we've ever done before to close our nation's digital divide. Congress committed $65 billion to that effort, and a whole lot of it went to programs to deploy infrastructure in rural communities that don't have internet today. And a whole lot of it also went for affordability programs, like the Affordable Connectivity Program, which we run at the Federal Communications Commission and use to help more than 21 million households get online and stay online. But you see, Congress knew that deployment and affordability efforts, they weren't enough. If we really wanted to close the digital divide, we had to address digital discrimination. So Congress picked up an idea that Congresswoman Clark first offered back in 2021. And we were told at the FCC to develop rules to facilitate equal access to broadband and prevent and eliminate digital discrimination. Because we know there are communities in this country that for too long have been unconnected, underserved, and overlooked. And this legislation was direction to my agency to develop rules to fix that. And today, we voted to put those rules in place. And we're celebrating the bipartisan infrastructure law and our new policies to prevent digital discrimination. Because what we have at the FCC is also historic. This is the first bipartisan civil rights legislation of the digital age, and the rules to enforce it get started right here and now. So thank you very much. You just have to tell me who I have to introduce next. Brian. Senator Peter Welch from Vermont.
There we go.
Thank you. It's great to be here with my friends from the House and with Jessica. Jessica, by the way, is doing so much to help rural Vermont and rural America, and she came up and we were getting Wi-Fi on our school buses, and we had a great ride on a school bus, and really, really appreciate your ongoing commitment to it. You know, this question of discrimination, I want to put it in context. The providers of internet want to build out because they want more customers, but they also want to reward their shareholders more than anything else. So their build out programs tend to bypass communities that have lower income. And a lot of those communities are communities of color that have been bypassed before. So what this legislation is saying is that whatever community you're in and whatever your income level is, you absolutely have the same right to opportunity as every other American. And you won't have that opportunity unless we make certain that you get the build out in your communities. That's what this is about. And to suggest that there's any other agenda than opportunity for all Americans is essentially to cave in to a lot of the big companies that basically want to build out for their profit as opposed to the opportunity for every American that needs it. So I just think this is incredibly important. You know, we're getting in on the ground floor, and on the ground floor we're saying that every American in every community is going to have the opportunity to use the internet so that they can be the best and most successful they can be. The other thing that's so important here is the Affordable Connectivity Program, because if you have access to internet but you can't afford internet, what good is internet, right? And the Affordable Connectivity Program has made a huge difference in a lot of our low-income communities in Vermont. It's really made the difference of about 21,000 people being able to afford it. And by the way, keep in mind, this is not like a frill. This is like electricity. This is like heat. This is an essential. So that we are embedding in our build-out the realities of the economic diversity of this country, and how too often in our history we've bypassed lower income communities and communities of color, essentially to build up the profits, but then suppress the opportunities of some of the best people we have in this country. We're saying, with Jessica's leadership, with Mark, with Yvette, no, that's not how we're doing it. On the internet, we're here to do everything that's required to make sure everybody has affordable access to that tool that is so essential to their future. Thank you. I turn it over, I guess, to my friend Mark Vesey.
Thank you. Senator, thank you very much. My colleague from Brooklyn, New York, Congresswoman Clark, thank you for being such a champion on this when we're in some of our committee hearings and getting the other side to understand how important issues like this are. Commissioner Worsen and Starks, thank you also for being such huge champions of the Affordable Connectivity Program and for underserved communities, because we cannot have enough people championing underserved communities. Underserved communities don't have their own lobbies. They don't have some of the other riches that other people have here. And so having strong voices on the commission, I think, it plays a huge role. And as we gather today to celebrate the 2nd anniversary of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, I want to thank the Biden-Harris administration and my colleagues in Congress who sought to tackle the monumental task of getting this historic piece of legislation over the finish line. And today, Democrats in Congress, along with the Biden administration, are continuing to deliver on our commitment to connect every household in America to the internet. Thanks to the Affordable Connectivity Program, which myself, Yvette, and others helped launch, it was made a part of the permanent bipartisan infrastructure law. And now more than 21 million households have access to affordable high-speed internet. This milestone has only been possible to the countless efforts of leadership of the FCC. And again, I want to thank the chairwoman and the other commissioners for championing this. Thank you so much. But still, more needs to be done because affordability is really only one piece of the puzzle. For communities of color and low-income communities, digital redlining is another hurdle these communities must work hard to overcome. And to be clear, again, digital redlining is not a new issue. Without robust investment by internet companies and communities that are lower income, these communities will continue to be deprived of competitive rates and a pool of internet providers to choose from, and will be subject to limited network performance and capabilities. And that is why we need to focus on addressing affordability and internet access to tackle digital redlining. And as a member of the House Energy and Commerce Committee and as co-chair of the Congressional Voting Rights Caucus, I want to make sure that we do everything to make sure that we have digital equity and inclusion for all Americans. And I also want to say this because I think that it's important. Yes, communities like the ones that I serve and Congresswoman Clark serves will be helped by this program and us continue to fund the Affordable Connectivity Program, which will run out of money next year if we don't get to work. But I will tell you the number of rural communities that it has helped as well. And I know the senator understands that, but a lot of our Republican colleagues represent rural communities, many more than Democrats do. And they need to understand too that this is an investment in their backyard and their districts also. And it's important that we keep it going. So with that, I'm going to invite the commissioner to come up and have a few words. And thank you so much for being here today. Oh my God. You go ahead and.
I forgot, I neglected to inform everyone that I'm Congresswoman Yvette Clark, and I proudly represent New York's 9th Congressional District in Central and South Brooklyn. And for 16 years, there was a gentleman, a rock star in the New York Congressional delegation, who happens to be the majority leader of the United States Senate. I was his Congresswoman for 16 years, and it's now my honor and my privilege to bring him to the podium, none other than Leader Chuck Schumer.
Well, thank you. And it was a great election day for Democrats, but the only regret, or one of the very few regrets I had, is I lost Yvette Clark as my Congresswoman. But I have a good new one. I have a good new one. And I want to thank Chairman Rosenworcel. I want to thank Commissioner Starks, Senator Welch, as well as Congress members Clark, the great leader on this issue, and Congressman Mark Vesey. And I want to thank everyone for being here. It's an important day. It's a day that's been a long time in coming for closing the digital divide, making sure all Americans have access to high-speed internet. You know, in the 20th century, we said that everyone should have electricity. It's a necessity. And in the New Deal, that's what Franklin Roosevelt accomplished. Well, in the 21st century, everyone needs affordable, high-speed internet, no matter where they're from. You could be in a rural area, as you mentioned. You can be from an urban area. You have different reasons you don't get internet, but you need internet just the same. And, you know, I was in Brooklyn, in your district, which is now my district because I'm the senator and I represent all the districts. And I met a nice lady in the summer, and she said to me, I said, how's it going? She said, I'm very happy. She was a healthcare worker. She said, I bought my son a computer, and now he's starting kindergarten. He's going to be able to participate. Great. I paid $700 or whatever she paid. But I saw her in October, how you doing? How's your son doing? Not so good. I said, why? He said, well, I have the computer, but I lost my job. I can't afford the $70 a month for the internet. Now, she was right by a big access to fiber, but she couldn't afford it. And she suffered from the digital divide just as somebody who lived in the middle of the Adirondacks and couldn't get internet that way. So we need to do that. And it's basic. Last month, my colleagues and I wrote the FCC urging them to adopt key principles such as disparate impact definition that are the core to the fight against digital discrimination. And the FCC heard us loud and clear. Glad I put you two on the agenda and voted for you. And so voted to implement our provisions from the infrastructure law, which I sort of insisted go in there along with many of the people here. And the new rules will prevent discrimination, intentional or not, in how the internet service providers choose to expand their services. It's really it's something we need. I'm going to be brief because there are a lot of speakers, but I want to thank you, and we're going to keep working to erase that digital divide, which hurts so many poorer people in terms of education and health care and job benefits and just being part of the society that is so connected with the internet. Thank you all for being here. Thanks, Yvette. Thanks for putting me on. Peter, good question today. Two good questions.
And it's now my honor to bring Commissioner Starks to the podium from the FCC.
Thank you all. Deeply honored to be here. Proud to be a commissioner who voted for this item today. As we heard today, it is the anti-discrimination laws that we're going to effectuate here at the FCC, and making sure in particular that Congress told us that we needed to focus on communities of color, vulnerable communities that live in rural areas. And so this is an important bipartisan effort. As we've heard from a number of colleagues here today, this really was part of a three-peat of historic events. The first was the BEAD money, $42 billion for us to build to rural areas everywhere. The Affordable Connectivity Program, $14 billion for us to ensure that low-income and vulnerable households get connected. And then the third thing, the thing that Chairwoman Rosenworcel and I voted on here today, and that is ensuring that we eradicate digital discrimination wherever it is, and that's going to empower individuals everywhere. One thing that I'd also highlight that we haven't mentioned here today is the fact that we are going to really put the power with the people here. There is a mechanism whereby if you are an individual who feels that you are experiencing digital discrimination, you can file a complaint. And wherever we have seen this, whether it's helping with crowdsourcing with our maps, or now individuals being able to file their own complaint against their provider, really putting the power with the people, making sure that they are empowered, we have found continues to bring real value. And so I'm honored to be up here with such leaders that I look up to in Congress, the leadership of the chairwoman, and this is a real day to celebrate. Thank you.
So make no mistake, the successes we've achieved thus far are only the beginning. We must continue our work bridging the digital divide so no American is excluded from progress. We must address affordability issues and fund the Affordable Connectivity Program, as has been repeated among our colleagues here today. And the future of our communities depends upon our actions. I want to thank you for joining us and ask if there are any questions at this time. Yes.
Thank you. I'm Kerry Murakami. I'm a reporter, but it's really bonky news site called Job 50 that investigating local officials around the country. couple of wonky questions for Chairwoman.
Okay. Chairwoman? It's a wonky
Wonky.
question.
It's my specialty.
So the draft order, like talked about how the rules will not be retroactive. And so does that mean that you won't be able to act on the inequity that currently exists, and it's more aimed at preventing future inequity, or what are the implications of that?
We're adopting the rules on a forward-looking basis.
And in terms of feasibility, I think there's some confusion on both sides about how you're going to interpret that. And can you give an example of like what you'll be able to do given the feasibility language?
You mean technical and economic feasibility? Yeah, Congress in the law was very clear that we should prevent and eliminate digital discrimination. But Congress also thought we should be reasonable, and we should make sure that companies, if they wanted to defend their practices, well, they should be able to demonstrate that there was a genuine issue of technical or economic feasibility that led them to make that deployment choice, for instance. And so if you take a look at the decision that comes out, there'll be a little more language on that, and you'll get the opportunity to look at it, and we can follow up.
Thank you very
Sure.
Yes.
Chair Rosenworcel, Jim Phelps with Communications Daily. Two questions for you. First, Senator Cruz and a number of other Republicans have played straight too far from the letter of the infrastructure law as far as discrimination proceeding went. What is your response to those claims?
The language in the law is broad, and we took meaningful steps today to prevent and eliminate digital discrimination. I'm confident in the work we've done.
And then on an unrelated note, what is your view as far as American U.S. delegation preparations for the WRC versus how China is preparing, just given some of the events on Capitol Hill?
We're working hard, and my colleague and myself are shortly headed to the World Radio Conference, where we will hash these issues out with our global colleagues who work on spectrum policy.
Do you think the fact that you don't have the spectrum auctioning authority at this point damages U.S. credibility?
It is absolutely important that Congress restore the FCC spectrum auction authority. We had it for 3 decades. We held more than 100 auctions and raised more than $233 billion for the United States Treasury. It's a good deal. We want Congress to bring it back.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, again, just having anti-discrimination baked into what we're doing creates an opportunity for particularly content creators of color to one, have their work attributed to them, and to monetize it in a way in which it should be. I think that as we look at, again, the growth of the access to the World Wide Web, we know that discrimination has been baked in on multiple levels. This opportunity will make it possible for those creators to register complaints, to make sure that the communities that they want to reach are connected. There's so many ways in which I think this levels the playing field and actually creates for our virtual lives a space that we've not really enjoyed in our physical lives to a large extent. I think we'll lead the way, quite frankly, through what is being put forth by the FCC, and that's why today is such a great day. I think that you can't minimize what this means in terms of how we interact with one another and how we engage content creators and give them their just due.